I've never been a part of anything like that. That was absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, it was an amazing conference. I think the energy in that room and in that building all weekend or all week was just above any conference I've ever been to with them. So it was amazing. Because of a connection that I had of, job I was at doing medical billing. There, I met a lot of great people, but I directly met a lovely woman named Susan, who I then followed to my next job. And as part of that, she wanted me to actually get on stage. And that's not something they asked everyone to do, but she was pushing me to do that. So I got on stage, and if you happen to be in the audience, I didn't do well, but I did it. He is the one who last year in Colorado said, this would be a really good topic for you to talk about the next year. So it's all of those little pieces. I don't make plans for the WIA conference. I just show up and say yes.
Oh, hey guys. It's another day and another podcast with the I'm a Car Chick podcast. That didn't make any sense, but we're fresh off the heels of Women in Automotive, and my brain is still getting back on track, as I'm sure many of yours are, because, whoa, that was an intense conference. Like, mind blown. I've never been a part of anything like that. That was absolutely phenomenal. So, I just have to keep bringing you the WIA love. And what's funny is I was actually supposed to podcast with this person ahead of the conference and then also at the conference, but I couldn't do it at the conference because there was so much going on that I just could not interrupt the schedule going on. So we're like, okay, we're going to do it afterwards. And it actually works out better because I had a chance to sit through her panel that she had, and worth every bit of it. So without further ado, I am bringing on Heather LeMay, product manager at the AutoMiner. Hi, Heather.
Hello. Yeah, it was an amazing conference. I think the energy in that room and in that building all weekend or all week was just above any conference I've ever been to with them. So it was amazing.
It was electric. I mean, and it's funny because I watched back through some of the videos that got recorded last year at the conference, and everybody was talking about how in their feelings they were, and how it was raw and vulnerable, and everybody was just getting really, really deep. And I didn't feel that this year. Like, there was quite a few times where it did get deep, but it wasn't as touchy-feely, I guess, as it was last year. It was way more, don't let this be your story. This is how you overcome. And so It was, what's insane, and this just happened today, so by the time this airs, it'll probably be a little bit old news. So they still have the BOGO offer going on for the Austin conference. There have already been 112 tickets sold.
That's amazing. I just better get mine to make sure I have one for next year.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Like, this part early on, we don't even have a date set. We don't have a venue. Just the fact that people know it's in Austin, 112. It's mind-blowing. So anyways, we got super distracted because we're all just still on that high from the conference, and what a high it is. But for anybody that doesn't know you, I want you to do a little bit of an introduction, like where you got your start in automotive, how all this came to be, and how you ended up with AutoMiner.
Okay, so my automotive journey story starts like a lot. I fell into automotive by accident. Because of a connection that I had of, job I was at doing medical billing got downsized, and a friend of a friend of a friend happened to work in HR at an automotive marketing company. Said, why don't you come try it out for a couple weeks, see if it's something that would work for you? And 15 years later, I'm still sitting here. So that first job was at a small little mom and pop direct mail and email only company that was based in Daytona Beach. And there I met a lot of great people, but I directly met a lovely woman named Susan, who I then followed to my next job. For several years, I worked at a chat company, an online chat bubble company for automotive. And, she was really my first mentor. I didn't realize it at the time. And she was never anything formally a mentor. She was just a genuinely good human. She was a good person. She was the team mom who wasn't afraid to tell you the hard things, but who also wore her heart on her sleeve. So, from her, I learned a little bit about leadership, a lot about compassion, and a tiny bit about automotive. So, but really mostly just how to be a good person. And from there in that company, I was able to grow a little bit. I started out as just an account manager, and I ended up moving up into a leadership role through Susan's guidance. And then COVID happened. So I left that company. I was kind of adrift for a little bit here and there, and I was helping a friend run his home. He was trying to get a home business off the ground doing home renovation work. And I knew him from automotive. His wife was the one who actually got me my first job in automotive. So, small circle again. Mm-hmm. And I was completely lost. He needed help trying to find leads and how to get his message out to customers. And I could tell you all about automotive, but I didn't know anything about home repair. So I kept reaching out to a couple of guys that I had worked with at the chat company. One of those was Aaron at the AutoMiner, and his business partner, Rob. And I just kept pestering them, asking questions. And one day, Rob said, "Why don't you just come work for us? We are ready for our first employee." So that was December of 2020. I joined the AutoMiner as the everything, account manager, billing help, pretty much anything, data entry, changing toilet paper in the bathroom. Like we all did everything at the time. We were a small startup. So from there, those two guys really pushed me, and they are the ones who introduced me to the Women in Automotive organization. There was a conference just before Veronica acquired it, before the current leadership, that was in Orlando. And it was close to where I'm located in Central Florida. So they sent myself and another girl from our company to that conference. And that, more than anything, probably has changed the entire trajectory of my life and my career. So that conference is, if you have met me in a one-on-one setting, you may have heard the story that I had a small panic attack trying to get stamps from vendors at the conference in the lobby, just trying to win prizes. I did not accomplish that goal. I got maybe half of them before I finally tapped out and said, "I'm done. I can't do this." I'm an introvert at heart, surprisingly, and it was not okay. But I did win a scholarship with Veronica, with the Women in Automotive Conference, or the organization, I guess. And I had met a few people, and the one that really stood out to me as I think I would like to get to know her better was Veronica. So when you fill out that first survey on the website, it says, "Do you have a preference?" And we'll try to tag you up with them. And I chose Veronica, and the rest, as they say, is history. She's never getting rid of me at this point. So it was, I think really it was very good from that perspective. She and I are a lot alike. We have a lot of the same weaknesses that she's already worked through. So she was able to guide me. And I had no idea how to pick her at the time. Like for me, it was just, "Oh, I know that name. Let's pick her."
Yeah.
But fate interceded and knew exactly what I needed, So she has a lot of the same weaknesses that I had. And so she had already worked through them. She's been through them before. And she told me 3.5 years ago, "You're going to speak on stage at some point." And I thought she was crazy. And I also kind of thought she was kidding, because I know how much she hates speaking on stage. So
if anybody doesn't know, she loathes it.
So last year, she told me not very long before the conference, she wanted me to speak to my mentor-mentee experience on stage. She wanted me to hand away a scholarship to someone else in the audience. And as part of that, she wanted me to actually get on stage. And that's not something they asked everyone to do, but she was pushing me to do that. So I got on stage, and if you happen to be in the audience, I didn't do well, but I did it. So that was the goal for that last year. Career-wise, I've been making changes as well behind the scenes of Women in Automotive because of changes that I've made through my mentorship with automotive. And my founder, Aaron, who brought me into the business originally, sent me to my first conference, has always 100% been behind not just women in automotive or women in leadership. He is always 100%. He's teaching all the time. He wants to bring people up to his level. So I have trusted him more than I probably would anybody else. More times than I can count. I've picked up the phone or sat across the desk from him, and he has said, all right, you're done with this thing. I need you to do this other thing. And every time he's told me that I was going to do something else, I thought, you are nuts. This is not going to work, but okay. And every time he's been right. So from that trust and that process, I have, now I'm in the product management department with AutoMiner, because I've been with the AutoMiner basically since day one. I know the product better than most people. So they moved me into the product management team a couple of years ago. And
this episode is brought to you by Epic BDC, your number one outsourced BDC solution. Learn more about Epic BDC by checking out the link in the bio.
If you'd asked me 5 years ago, I never would have imagined working in product at the software level and working with vendors for integrations and things like that. So it's just the job title and the job descriptions themselves have been a learning experience. Mm-hmm. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes in automotive. It's not just selling cars. It's not just making phone calls. There's a lot that goes on. There's not just parts and fixed ops and stuff. So it's been a real learning experience for me, just from beginning at the basic direct mail entry level up to where I am now. And from that last year, because I love Women in Automotive so much, I have been passionate about mentoring in general. I could talk about Women in Automotive for days, but right. Mentoring in general, the lessons I've learned from Veronica and others, we've been able to put into practice. I can't take credit for it, but I am part of the Pure Cars official mentor program.
That's awesome.
And that has been something I never would have imagined being a mentor in the first place. Like, being a mentee was a scary thing for me to start with. And taking that and pouring that into someone else and then passing that on and becoming a mentor, that has been transformative as well. So it's an interesting journey. And then, of course, this year, I was on stage. I hosted a panel that I was really passionate about. And I think we shared some ideas that were really things that people don't necessarily talk about. Everybody talks about how important it is to have a mentor and how important it is to get a mentor. But how do you get one? What do you do when you have one? What are the things that you do with the mentor when you finally get one? Like, how do you know when you're ready? Those are the kind of things that we wanted to talk about. So I probably went a little longer than you wanted me to, but okay. That's my story. So
okay, that was so much. I mean, number one, I had no idea you were AutoMiner from day one. Like, I mean, I'd heard Aaron's story at a conference last year about how he literally built this in his garage, prior to doing anything else. Like, he was literally running this whole company from his garage and was just like flabbergasted because it was such a well-known name in the industry. And it's like, you never know what's going on behind the scenes, but that's really freaking cool. But then, moving on to that mentor-mentee relationship and that huge topic of conversation that happened at WIA. I mean, we started day one. The very first thing on the agenda was the speed mentoring. So we had tables, which is funny because we actually had to bring in more tables. There was a much higher turnout than we expected. We brought in more tables for it, but it was speed mentoring. We did a mentorship panel ahead of time. And then everybody was placed around these round tables, and I think it was like 5 minutes or something like that, a mentor would move from one table to the next. And so every 5 minutes you would get a new person at your table to, give you a little bit different knowledge, a new person, so on and so forth. And the greatest thing I think I learned in that is how often we have these relationships, these mentor-mentee relationships, and don't know, like you mentioned, that you're in that relationship already because you haven't put the title on it, or, you didn't formally ask, hey, will you be my mentor? Or, hey, can I mentor you? And it's funny, we had the tribute to Bobby as well. And in that, Robin had mentioned that, Bobby just told her one day that, oh, I'm mentoring Shasta. And I was like, what? She is? Like, and Robin had told me when she had that conversation with her, I was like, And then I got to thinking about it. I'm like, well, I guess she is. Like, she's always there when I need her. She's always giving me information on stuff. She's always pushing me to do one thing or another. And like, because we hadn't yet put the title on it, I didn't know that's what it was. And so I think that a lot more of us are in that relationship already without knowing it, just because the titles aren't on it. And I think the informal is even kind of better. Like when it's just a relationship or just a friendship, like, hey, I want to make sure I'm not reading too far into this. Can I send you this email thread and have you look at it as an unbiased third party, blah, blah, blah. And so, and that's what it is most of the times. And it's a lot of times it's the small things. Like I was in a similar situation with someone I know too, where she would send me Slack messages that they had going on in their company. And she's like, I want to make sure I'm not reading this wrong. Will you tell me how you read this? And I'll let you know what I was thinking and we'll see if they match up. And it's collaborations like that is mentorship. And it's not always necessarily let me show you how to do your job. It's taking the lessons that your mentor taught you and teaching them to somebody else. And that line of when we become a mentor after graduating from a mentee, like nobody sits there and dubs you, oh, now you're a mentor. Like you have learned enough. Now you're a mentor. I think that's an important like separation that we've got to talk about.
Yeah. And you're never just one or the other. Like once you cross that line to be a mentor, if you're not still learning from other people, then you're useless to the people that you're mentoring. So you never stop being both. And if you do stop being both, then you've stopped your growth.
Yeah.
So I think that's an important thing too. And that panel that you're talking about, that speed mentoring, that in and of itself was a challenge for me as well, because I did not know until I walked in that room that I was going to be one of those people moving from table to table. Like Kathy sprung that on me and I was like, okay, that's what we're doing. But because of everything I've learned in the last several years, I have learned, and I'm sure you can back this up, I just agree. Because that's how I've opened so many doors and done so many cool things. Like, just a simple example, and this doesn't have anything to do with mentoring, but people were asking me before the conference, well, what do you have planned in Nashville when you're there? And I said, I don't make plans before I go to this conference, because the most impactful conversations I've ever had at WIA have been across the coffee table or across the board member dinner, which we changed that up this year, but random conversations with people that I didn't plan. I didn't plan to go to dinner that night. I just showed up in the lobby and somebody said, come with us. So those are the conversations and the connections that have meant so much to me. One of those was, Mike Smith, the CTO for Women in Automotive board member. And he's the one who last year in Colorado said, this would be a really good topic for you to talk about the next year. So it's all of those little pieces. I don't make plans for the WIA conference. I just show up and say yes. And there's so many things that you can do and so many fun people that you can meet if you do that. So
what's wild is, and I was thinking about this at the conference, that for a massive group of women, I mean, I would say at least 90% of the 400 plus people that were there were women. And the fact that as a nature, we are organizers, we are schedulers, we run life on a schedule. The fact that after hours, there was almost no schedule for anything other than like, a little networking reception here or whatever, like is mind blowing to me, because that's how everybody prefers it, because you don't know who you're going to meet once you get there and what conversations you need to have. You don't know who's going to need to talk to you. Like so many people that I would have never foreseen going into it, or people that I met while I was there, like long conversations, nights out, things like that were so needed. And that's 100% why you can't plan anything. Like, then honestly, most conferences should be that way, but I think WIA has something a little bit different just because we're so all about empowerment and trying to grow each other, where, other big conferences where we have a little bit less, or the scales are balanced in the other direction with more men than women. I think at that point it's more about getting business, and that's not what WIA is about. Like,
yeah, I really do appreciate that this is not a vendor conference, and it's not a vendor organization. Like, if you happen to know somebody that does something that you need, then great, you met them, you can have a conversation. I've already had 2 of those since we left the conference. But that's not what this is about. It's just about meeting other people and finding out how can I help those people or how can I learn from those people. Something that I have to challenge myself with, because I am an introvert at heart, and I would much rather spend the entire conference either at a conference table or in my room by myself. Like, that's who I am at heart. But my first conference, I couldn't get vendor stamps. But by the time I went to my second conference, I made myself a goal that I was going to take somebody with me. And that person didn't really want to interfere, didn't want to interact with other people, but getting them out, I accomplished my goal. I took somebody with me. I brought somebody to the conference. I brought somebody into the organization.
Did you know that there's a monthly newsletter where you can keep in touch with everything the I'm a Car Chick podcast is up to? There is. Check out the show notes below, and you can also follow us on all social media and stay in tune with whatever we're up to.
The following year, last year in Colorado, my goal was, you are not going to go back to your room and hide between conference sessions. You're going to stand at coffee tables. You're going to talk to vendors. You're going to stay in the lobby of the conference center, and you're going to talk to people. You're going to eat lunch with people, all that stuff. And you're going to say yes when people ask you if you want to do things. This year, my goal was, you are not going to do those things. You're going to be the one that makes sure you're going to ask people to do things. And I met so many cool people this year just by being like, hey, do you have plans for dinner? You're going with us. And just like, we just grew. One night we started with 3 people, and we ended up at a table of like 15, just magnets, just growing, everybody that saw people, we would just bring them in. So I think to get the most out of the conferences, you have to go into it with the mindset of, you're not just going to sit at a table and see the speaker and take notes.
Yeah.
You have to pay attention. You have to be part of you're not going to get anything out of it if you're just going to sit at a table. You have to be willing to open yourself up, to be vulnerable and meet new people and do new things. So,
yeah. And you have to be willing to, what's the word? Not necessarily willing to change, but you have to be willing to accept what's being taught to you. And it can be tough. Like, when that schedule is as jam-packed as it is, and you don't really have time after each session to sit there and mentally unpack or, assess all of your thoughts on it and take those notes. It can be a little bit tough because it's so back to back to back to back. But there was so much good content this year. Like, everything hit 100%, and not a bit of it, not most of it, was salesy. Like, there were some.
My big takeaway from this one is, write it down. Like, everybody said it. Write it down in some way, form, or fashion. Even your panel was like, if you don't have a goal that you can be accountable for, you're not going to do it. So, like, I need a new goal for 2026. I don't know what that goal is yet. But everybody that I know that I need their input, I've already asked them. Like, what? I've already asked Veronica. All right, girl, I already asked Eliana, what's my next goal? So I never would have asked that question 2 years ago. So that's the thing. You do have to be open. And I learned things in every single room I was in this time around.
Yeah. Well, and it's weird how there was like this theme that all of us somewhat had without knowing it. Like, so you were in my session, and right before, not a little bit before that, was Kate Borowski's keynote, where she was talking about goals and all of those things, and even brought up her vision board. And I'm sitting there like, this is identical to part of my thing. And she walked off stage, and I said, I want you to know, I don't know if you're going to be in there, but I'm going to use stuff that you used in mine. Like, I'm going to hit on this because it's a continuation. Like, you just gave us the why you need to set goals, and I'm going to give them the how. And she was like, oh, that's going to be perfect. And then she was in my session, and like, I would say something, and she would look at me like, holy crap, you weren't kidding. Like, it was seriously like we built it out together, and we hadn't spoken a word to each other about what either of our sessions. It was mind-blowingly kismet, intervention, whatever it was. But it was like somebody or somebody's there needed that message, obviously. And that's why that happened that way.
Yep.
I mean, absolutely wild. Like, one of those things that Goosebumps. And I mean, in your guys' panel, like the mentoring, so you had Tracy Fields, and Jamie Herzberg, which love both of them, love you, obviously. It was such an important panel. So I want to ask question number one, did you get to pick them as panelists, or was it like, hey, we have these two people that we think would be good?
No, they left everything in my hands. I got to pick them both.
Awesome. And you did great picks, by the way.
Thank you.
Like, Tracy's a powerhouse. Jamie's an upcoming powerhouse. She's tried to be sneaky and hide in the woods for a little bit. I'm like, you're coming out of that woodwork. You're going to be known. Anybody. I'm like, well, that changes today. Hey, have you met Jamie? So it's so your panel was empowering the next generation, mentee perspectives on growth. So not necessarily talking to the mentors, the people who've already gone through and done it, but the mentees, like what you got as a mentee. And we heard awesome things that like Tracy's implementing at her store with a mentorship program, what Jamie got out of being a mentee. She kept shouting out Kevin Colma, who was at Fixed Ops Digital with her. All of these things go hand in hand together. And especially when we look at, how we move forward, and everybody who isn't actively mentoring is a mentee in some way, shape, or form from somebody. Like, whether you realize it or not, you're probably being mentored by somebody without knowing it, whether it's in your own organization or somebody you know outside of work, somebody's mentoring you right now. And once we take a step back and think about that and realize that is where we can move forward, what was something you got out of hosting that panel that you didn't realize you were going to get out of it?
Honestly, just putting it together. Like I did not realize, Jamie and I really kind of have our automotive stories align a little bit. So she worked for a startup with a mentor who was really pushing her and introduced her to her husband at one point. Like, so she was at a small startup with an impactful mentor. I was at a small startup around the same time with an impactful mentor. And we actually met because we met last year at WIA, and she was looking for a change. And she reached out to me to pick my brain about product management. And through that conversation, I said, I think you need to be a panelist on my panel because this is amazing information. So just realizing that I wasn't the only person with a half a version of my story. And part of that, putting that panel together also was realizing I picked up my mentor at Pure Cars this year is Hannah, who is a powerhouse in the marketing world. Like, this is what she does. She puts on panels, she puts on shows. This is what she does. So when I knew I was going to be doing this panel, I said, who do I know that can help me the most with this panel? So I requested Hannah. I never would have done that before. And because I had Hannah in my corner, she was able to show me how she would run a panel. So I learned a lot just putting the panel together, really. And, Tracy's story is amazing in and of itself. First of all, she's been with the same auto group her entire automotive career. That never happens unless you actually are the name behind the dealership. Right. So watching her, and obviously I haven't known her whole career, but watching her take what she's learned and start pouring it into Women in Her. They've got like 40 stores, I think, that auto group has. 38. And this whole amazing Women in Premier Leadership group that she's started and has reached out. Faith Linden is helping with that. And like, there's so many people that are a piece of that. She didn't take what she learned and hold it inside. She said, how can I give this to other people? And I think that's a really impactful thing. And I really wanted my tagline for that. And I didn't get to say it as many times as I wanted to because I was so nervous. But the really pass it on is the tagline. Like, you cannot be stuck as a mentee. You have to pass it on to the next person. And that can be something as simple as teaching your kid how to make spaghetti, or it can be teaching the next generation how to start a mentor program.
Yeah.
There's a massive amount of information out there to learn. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's probably my biggest takeaway was actually putting it together and trying to find that perfect fit. So
Well, and that pass it on message is huge because, like, I think back to when we do our Women in Automotive Clubhouse rooms, and a lot of the times it's like, how can we do better as an organization to, get more women in leadership? And that's the answer. It's you have to reach down and find somebody and pull them up with you. You have to pass on the knowledge. I love that the screen just keeps giving me thumbs ups.
Trying really hard not to do fireworks. So
it's teaching what's been taught to you. And I think of this episode is brought to you by SCP Agency, your one-stop shop for organic social media. Check them out by clicking the link in the show notes or visit scpagency.com. Especially as I, get older and grow more into the roles that I've been in, the lessons that I realize I'm passing down are lessons that were taught to me. It's not like I'm reinventing the wheel. And I don't think hardly any of us are really reinventing the wheel. It's just making sure nobody gets left behind. Like, making sure that everybody has that opportunity if they choose to go down that path, that they have that opportunity and the open door, that they're not trying to bang on a closed, locked door, that we're opening it wide open for them and letting them know, hey, come on in, the water's fine. Like, and it's as simple as that. And we saw the huge conversation and the 12-point checklist that was done for Bobby. And so, Bobby made a massive impact in this industry. And, all of the things that everybody kept talking about afterwards was that she could always see the greatest version of you, even when you couldn't see it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it means to be like B. And so that's the message that I took from this conference, is just to be the person you needed when you didn't have anybody. And see the best in people, whether they see it or not. And it reminded me of you talking about that conversation where that you had with Veronica, where she's like, you're going to be speaking on a stage. And you're like, what? Like, it's somebody telling you you're capable of things that you have, self-limiting beliefs on. And Bobby did the same thing to me. She's like, you need to apply to speak here, apply to speak there. And I'm like, why would I do that? Like, no one wants to hear what I have to say. She's like, no, they do. They do, no matter what. Get yourself on a stage. I'm like, huh. And then, Women in Automotive, packed house. Would have never guessed that. I'm literally
the biggest breakout room anybody had was yours. So, like,
was it really?
You're the only one that had standing room only on. So I think that means you need to be on the main stage next year, dear.
I don't know. Joe says I don't know that he's a truth teller in this, but he says he doesn't pick speakers 2 years in a row. But maybe you and I can squeak our way through his little heart.
Oh, okay.
We'll find a way through. No, it's I
know a couple of board members.
Same. I think self-limiting beliefs are really so big. And I had a conversation, actually a podcast with one of the other speakers a few weeks back, Stephanie Wedgeworth, and we were breaking down like what she talked about, with the gender pay gap. And I really sat there because I'm such an analytical brain, and I sat there and I just broke it down piece by piece. And I'm like, okay, where is this breaking apart? Like, surely nobody has the thought when they're hiring somebody of, oh, this is a woman, I'm going to pay them less. And so, where does this breakdown happen? And I chase it all the way back down to, we're the ones not asking for it. Men ask for the quarterly raises, or, the biannual raises, whatever it is. And we're not. Like it was like she said, she got that job and she was just happy with it. And oh my God, they're willing to pay me to do this, and I'm having so much fun. And when I thought back, all the way back to being a child, I don't ever remember being told or taught anything like that. Like, you need to ask for more. You need to make sure, like, I'm in the same boat. Like, I don't know that I've maybe one time in my life ever asked for a raise, even knowing what I do, even being as educated as I am. And I'm like, that's the problem. That's where it breaks down to, is that we somewhere in our heads don't feel like we should be stepping out of line, stepping out of turn. And, maybe it's all the things that we were taught, don't make a fuss. Don't be a problem to anybody. Just say, yes, please. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. All those things. And it's our way of feeling like we're causing a fuss if we try to do something like that. Or, I mean, these are all just super hypothetical ideas that like me trying to figure out this problem in my own head and, you know, how can I make sure that my daughter doesn't go through the same thing? And it's wild that we do this to ourselves subconsciously without realizing it.
And that's an important, I never realized, you hear about the gender pay gap, like across every industry, not just automotive. And while it could theoretically be people at the top just refusing to pay people the right number, for me, it was never, oh, I'm a woman, I can't ask. It was, I have a job and I don't want to jeopardize that.
Yep.
And I just assumed everybody on the planet was that way. And now I'm starting to realize after the last couple of years with this conference, you know, and listening to podcasts and things about this, I don't think it's everybody. I think it's just us because like you said, and I wonder how much of it is regional. Like you and I were both raised in the part of the world that says, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir, do what you're told when you're told to do it kind of thing. Some of that is religious background. Some of that is cultural. Some of that is just, you know, polite society. And I wonder how much of that, not even necessarily be quiet and don't say anything, but be polite. Like, have we hurt ourselves by being nice to people? Which you get taught your entire life, be nice. What if that's the reason that we are still where we're at? What, 60 years from the last time there was a major shift? So I think there's a lot of pieces that people don't think about. And her panel was very eye-opening for me. I mean, not her panel, her keynote was very, I was like, oh. You know what else? And this is a tiny little detail, but I made a point to sit up front this year. And I got so much more out of this conference this year than when I sat up front. That's just my plug, my PSA for the day.
Funny, I did the same thing. I was at one of the front tables, and the amount of times those speakers make eye contact with you, which you saw the lights on stage. I don't know that they could even see you down there, but the amount of times it felt like they were making eye contact, I'm like,
I could see the people on the front tables. I could see you and Veronica. Okay. So
they were looking at me, not just looking to me. But so Stephanie's session actually got me thinking a lot, and breaking down like what it looks like in our organization. And I came to realize like the only person here who ever consistently asks for a raise, and it almost feels like, oh my God, didn't we just give him a raise? Like, is a guy. Like, and we are mostly women. We're probably at least 60-70% women here. And the only person that consistently asks for a raise is a man. Mind blowing. And like when I sat down and realized that, I was like, it's imposter syndrome. Like it has to be part of what happens with imposter syndrome, because how often do you ever hear a man in the automotive industry say he has imposter syndrome?
It goes along with that same, I don't remember whose panel it was or whose speech it was, the not applying for roles that you're not 100% qualified for, but men do it 60% of the time more than women. I think it's the same thing. I think we as women in leadership need to normalize with people around us, not just talking about your salary like one of the people was talking about, but talking to the people below and around you, making it normal to have a conversation about a raise or about your job description or about whatever and as leaders, you can have that conversation with the person underneath you as you're doing their biannual review or whatever the case may be. And I think it has to come from the top because it's terrifying to do it from the bottom. And yeah. I think leaders are going to have to change it. And I'm really glad that we have a solid foundation of female leaders right now that might have the opportunity to change those kind of things. So,
yeah. No, her session was absolutely eye-opening, and I mean, just such a game changer when we look at, how this industry is moving and how we want things to happen. And it's funny you mentioned and I can't remember the exact percentages, but it's like 80% of men will apply for a job that they're only 50% qualified for. but only 20% of women will apply for a job that they're 80% qualified for, or something like that. Like if they don't meet all the qualifications. And it's funny, and it got me thinking back to when, I would be job hunting or looking through Indeed at applications. And if I wasn't 100% match, I wouldn't apply for it because I'm like, oh, well, I don't have this certification, so I'm not going to do it. And a man with even less experience would have gone for it. Like, and again, it makes you sit there and think like, why do I think this way?
Mm-hmm.
It's the most mind-boggling, frustrating thing out there because it's what's the freaking answer? And that's why I'm like, it has to go back to childhood. Like,
you've made it this far, and I have to say thank you so much for listening. Please be sure to rate the show, whether you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, subscribe on YouTube, and of course on all social media channels. Light it up.
Well, conferences like the one we just came from and podcasts and communications about this kind of topic, that's the only way anything's going to change is if we keep talking about it. So I think we're on the road. We just have to keep talking about it. So,
yeah, 100%. And we're off to a great start. I mean, I feel like while the movement Women in Automotive has been going for 11 years now, something just got jump started or electrified, or I don't know, something just grew exponentially during this conference. Like you can almost physically feel it, and it's not slowing down. I mean, I am so psyched and just honestly curious to see what next year in Austin looks like, because I mean, it's gonna, there's no way it's not going to be amazing after this year. Like that just lit a fire in so many people. And just my notifications to this day have not slowed down on LinkedIn. Like
I haven't even been able to really sit down and write my post about how much I enjoyed the conference, because every time I try, I'm like, oh, wait, I forgot about that thing. Oh, wait, I forgot about that thing. I got to tag that person. I got to do this. And I haven't even been able to fully process what actually happened yet. And I think you're right. It's not, I think we are lucky that we got to see it before to watch the growth. And I'm thrilled to see what's going to happen next year. The next 12 months is going to be amazing.
Oh yeah. Well, and if anything is to be said for it, the amount of people who approached me at the conference wanting to do a regional social event is scary. It is scary. So, I'm working on potentially at least 9 socials between now and the next conference.
Wow.
Wish me luck.
Well, if there's any in Florida, please let me know if I can help.
There's one that's hypothetically is supposed to be happening possibly in South Florida, maybe in the same area as the last one in South Florida.
Well, that one was really good, and I will be there in attendance regardless of if you need any help with the actual planning. So
I will. I already know I will.
Okay.
I know you're still reeling from the conference. By the time this airs, hopefully we'll have a breath of fresh air and be able to kind of sit down and soak it in. If anybody wants to connect with you to learn more about you personally, to, ask about your mentorship journey, or even just to learn about the AutoMiner, what's your best method of connection?
I'm on LinkedIn, Heather LeMay. You're free to email me at work, heatherl@purecars.com. Probably LinkedIn is the fastest way, just because that way it won't get lost in a bunch of vendor emails, I'm also on Facebook. You're welcome to try to find me there as well. I recently found out that if you're Shasta's friend on Facebook, I will auto-accept you, because if you know Shasta, then you probably are in automotive, and I'm good to go. So everybody's welcome to find me on either LinkedIn or Facebook, and I'm happy to reach out and have a conversation. I
forgot about you making that post. I've been there before where I'm like, why am I getting so many friend requests? Well, they're mutual friends. It's got to be a good person, right? Like
if it's funny. It's usually if it's Aaron or Gary or Veronica or, one of those people. But for some reason, I went through like 10 or 12 in a row where your face was the first one in the mutual friends. And I was like, all right, this is what we're doing now.
Deal. All right, I'm gonna try to have you pick what was your number one favorite takeaway from the conference. That if anybody learns anything who wasn't there, what's the one thing?
Oh, there were so many. Mine personally, as an overarching, is write your goals down for your own accountability. I can't pinpoint it to a specific session or even a specific conversation because, like we talked about earlier, it was throughout everything. I have some personal goals that I need to work on, and I have been talking about them in my mind for how many years now at this point, and they're not going to. I have come to the realization from this conference that if I don't put them in stone and tell other people about them so that I have accountability, they're never going to happen. So that's my biggest takeaway, I think.
Yeah. Have you started writing them down? Like, have you gotten your own like notebook or anything yet?
I have a notebook. I haven't started writing anything down yet, but I did go to the trouble of buying a notebook and a special pen. That's my goal journal. So
I was going to say, I think we're going to do a giveaway. So Robin a few years ago had found these buffalo skin notebooks with like this insane like recycled cotton paper. And so she's been using that one for hers, and it's like so well done. We found a pink one where you can get a pink gem, like geode type stone on the front. And so I think we're going to do one as a giveaway.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That sounds fun.
I know. I'm pretty psyched for it. But I agree with you. That was definitely the one of the main points in my session that carried over from Kate's and somebody else's. So I would agree with you on that one. Like, figure out what your goals are and start writing them down and then review them every day.
And my funnest takeaway was Becky Squire's button.
I didn't get one.
You didn't get one. I'm so sorry.
I think she said she's going to order more. So I told her I very much need one.
Her session, she said something that really came home to me. Everybody always tells you dress for the job you want, but she said dress for the job, or dress to make yourself comfortable and make yourself feel powerful. And that hit home for me.
Yeah.
Because how often do we go out of our way to get lots of makeup on and get big dress up and big shoes and all the stuff, and you're more worried about how you look and how you're presenting yourself than just being your authentic self and just doing the thing. Like you were saying that in your social post too. So those are my two big takeaways. Have fun, and like that was my fun takeaway and my real takeaway, which kind of were both real takeaways. So
no, and it's true, and it's something that I'm such a rebellious soul. I really don't like being told what to do. Like, you tell me what to do and I'm probably going to do the opposite. That's how passionate I am about not being told what to do. But number one, I did all the conferences where I wore the heels or the fancy shoes, and I would have the blisters, and I couldn't walk the next day, and it made any conversation I have almost non-existent because I couldn't stop thinking about how bad I hurt or how uncomfortable I was. My pants were cutting me in half, or the shirt was, rubbing a raw spot on my back, or whatever it was. And it's like, if you don't have to feel like that, why would you?
Mm-hmm.
Like, literally, why would you? And so now, like, my go-to thing that everybody should know about me by now, I wear Converse to almost every conference, because for me and my flat little feet, they're the most comfortable shoes to be walking all those miles in. They're nice and padded, and I got super flat feet, so heels don't work with me, and I love them. Like, you won't tell me otherwise. And I don't care how it makes you feel, because at the end of the day, all that matters for me is how my feet feel. So
break the rules. Make new rules. Make new rules.
Yeah. Wear the Converse.
Dye your hair purple.
Yeah, dye your hair purple. I can't tell you how fast I ripped those extensions out of my hair. Like, so I had pink extensions for the conference. If you remember, there's no pink in my hair right now. We ripped those suckers out. And I almost went today. If I would have had time, I was going to get my nails taken off. Like, I did all these things to be over the top pretty for the conference. Like, even still kind of working against my own rule. But I knew, I'm going to be probably in a lot of pictures and videos. Like, I should probably look a little girly. Out of character.
I think I'm still finding, I know I'm still finding glitter from that first day when I put it in my hair.
It looks so good, though. I love that. Was that just a spray?
Mm-hmm. I found it on Amazon. It's just glitter spray.
I loved it. It looked awesome. Especially like your hair was so vibrant and bright that day, and the pink and the purple. Chef's kiss. All right. At some point, we're going to have to let these people, go on.
I know.
But
I could talk to you for hours, but I get it.
Well, I'm sure we'll probably have a part 2 because, Heather and I just love talking. So if this conversation hasn't struck up something in you, there's something wrong with you. So definitely connect with Heather on LinkedIn, reach out to her, ask her all the questions. She's gone through the mentee, the mentor. She's doing all of the things. And I think we're going to see her on the main stage next year.
Let's see. Maybe if Shasta agrees to be on the main stage, maybe I'll go too.
Yeah, you got to work on Joe.
Okay.
Joe watch.
Sounds good.
All right. It was awesome talking to you today, Heather. Guys, be sure to check out the next episode that we have coming up. And of course, learn more about women in automotive. If you haven't heard me say it enough, you heard Heather say it today. Learn more about women in automotive. Get involved. Be a part of it. Get involved with a social in your area. Just do it. And when you're out there talking to other people, being a part of everybody else's life, don't be an asshole. Light it up. Be kind to someone else.
There you go.
Bye, everybody.